What transforms a person into a serial killer? This is a question that has baffled humanity for centuries. Serial killers, with their gruesome acts and unfathomable motives, have long been a subject of both horror and fascination. From the blood-soaked tales of Jack the Ripper to the chilling stories of Ted Bundy, these individuals have etched their names into the annals of history, not for feats of heroism, but for their heinous crimes. But why are we, the general public, so captivated by these tales of horror? Perhaps it's our innate curiosity about the macabre, or our yearning to understand the unknown, or perhaps it's the eerie realization that these monsters were once ordinary people just like us. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: our fascination with serial killers is a testament to our desire to understand the human mind, even at its darkest. And that's exactly what we aim to do in this video series. We're going to delve deep into the psychology of serial killers, exploring the inner workings of their minds, the factors that contribute to their behavior, and the circumstances that transform an ordinary person into a remorseless predator. We'll be drawing upon the expertise of forensic psychologists, individuals who've dedicated their lives to studying these criminals, understanding their motives, and helping to bring them to justice. Their insights, combined with detailed case studies of some of the most notorious serial killers in history, will provide a comprehensive analysis of this complex and chilling subject. But be warned, this journey is not for the faint of heart. We're about to venture into a realm of darkness where humanity's worst nightmares come to life. We'll be uncovering truths that are as terrifying as they are fascinating, truths that will challenge our understanding of human nature. So, are you ready to delve into the minds of some of the most notorious serial killers in history? What makes an individual choose the path of a serial killer? This question has intrigued psychologists, criminologists, and the general public alike for decades. It's a complex and multifaceted issue, with no one-size-fits-all answer. Several theories in the realm of psychology strive to unravel the intricate psychological makeup of a serial killer. More often than not, it's an amalgamation of genetic, environmental, and psychological factors that shape such behavior. The nature versus nurture debate is a cornerstone in this context. On one hand, nature implies a genetic predisposition. Some individuals might inherit certain traits like impulsivity or a lack of empathy, which could potentially escalate to violent tendencies. On the other hand, nurture delves into the environmental factors. A traumatic childhood, riddled with physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, could distort a person's understanding of violence, love, and power. This distorted perception could lead an individual down a path of destruction, not just for themselves, but also for those unfortunate enough to cross their path. However, it's not just nature and nurture at play here. There's also the psychological element to consider. Disorders such as antisocial personality disorder, narcissism, and borderline personality disorder are often found in the psychological profiles of serial killers. These disorders can manifest as a lack of remorse, an inflated sense of self-importance, or an unstable emotional state, creating a volatile cocktail that can trigger extreme violence. Moreover, there's a certain thrill or satisfaction that some serial killers derive from their heinous acts. It's a dark and twisted form of gratification, one that feeds their need for power and control. That being said, it's important to remember that not everyone with these traits or experiences turns into a serial killer. It's a complex interplay of these factors, and perhaps more, that leads to such extreme behavior. But to understand this better, we need to look closer at some real-life examples. By diving into the minds of infamous serial killers through detailed case studies, we can get a clearer picture of what might drive an individual to such chilling extremes. Let's dive into the life and mind of Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, a name that sends chills down the spine, yet also a name that was once associated with charm and intelligence. Bundy, an infamous serial killer, was known not just for his horrendous crimes, but also for his ability to blend into society. His charm, good looks, and intellectual prowess made him a wolf in sheep's clothing. Bundy's case is a classic example of a psychopath. Psychopathy is a personality disorder characterized by persistent antisocial behavior, impaired empathy and remorse, and bold, disinhibited, and egotistical traits. Yet Bundy was also charming, articulate, and intelligent. He was able to manipulate those around him, convincing them of his innocence even when evidence pointed to the contrary. His charm was his greatest weapon. It allowed him to gain the trust of his victims, leading them into a false sense of security before he struck. Bundy's ability to deceive and manipulate is a common trait among psychopaths. It's this ability to hide their true intentions that makes them so dangerous. It's important to remember that while psychopathy can play a role in serial killings, not all psychopaths become serial killers. In fact, many lead normal lives, their psychopathy only revealing itself in subtle ways. Yet in Bundy's case, his psychopathy combined with other factors led him down a dark path. The case of Ted Bundy also serves to highlight the complexity of the human mind. Even someone as seemingly normal as Bundy was, in reality, a ruthless killer. This duality is something that continues to baffle psychologists and criminologists alike. It's a stark reminder that human behavior is not always as it seems, and that beneath the surface, darker forces can be at play. Bundy's case is a chilling reminder that serial killers can hide behind a mask of normalcy. It's a testament to the power of the human mind and the terrifying consequences when that power is used for evil. As we continue this journey into the mind of a serial killer, let's remember the lessons from Bundy's case. Not everything is as it seems, and charm can often hide a darker truth. Now, let's examine the case of John Wayne Gacy. Gacy's story is particularly chilling, not just due to the sheer brutality of his crimes, but also the stark contrast between his life as a respected community member and his hidden identity as a cold-blooded killer. Known as the Killer Clown, Gacy was a popular figure in his community, often dressing up as a clown for local children's parties. Yet, beneath this cheerful exterior lurked a monster capable of unimaginable atrocities. Born in Chicago in 1942, Gacy's childhood was far from idyllic. His father was an abusive alcoholic who regularly beat him and his siblings. Despite this, Gacy strived to please his father, a quest that ultimately proved futile. This turbulent upbringing could have sown the seeds of his later violent behavior. As Gacy grew older, he developed a successful career in construction and became a prominent figure in his community. However, this outwardly respectable life masked a horrifying secret. Between the years of 1972 and 1978, Gacy sexually assaulted and murdered 33 young men and boys, burying many of them beneath his house. The dual life Gacy led is not uncommon among serial killers, many of whom are adept at hiding their dark impulses behind a veneer of normalcy. This ability to compartmentalize their lives allows them to blend into society, making it harder for law enforcement to catch them. Forensic psychologists have suggested that Gacy's violent behavior could have been a result of his abusive upbringing, combined with his inability to reconcile his sexual identity. His crimes, they argue, may have been an attempt to regain control and exert power, feelings he was denied during his childhood. Gacy's case demonstrates the potential impact of environmental factors on the development of a serial killer. It serves as a stark reminder that beneath the surface of the most ordinary lives, dark secrets can hide, and it emphasizes the importance of understanding the psychological triggers that can lead to such horrific actions. Finally, let's scrutinize the life of Aileen Wuornos. Today, we are diving into the story of a woman, a murderer, and a damaged soul. Wuornos's life was painted with a palette of trauma and abuse from the start. Born in Michigan in the late 50s, she never knew her father, a convicted sex offender, and her mother abandoned her when she was 4. Raised by her grandparents, the trauma continued as she suffered physical and sexual abuse at their hands. At the tender age of 15, Wuornos was thrown out into the world, finding solace on the streets. This was a woman who was never given a chance, a woman who, from the beginning, was pushed into a life of hardship and pain. But how does this relate to her becoming a serial killer? Forensic psychologists suggest that such early experiences can have a profound impact on the developing brain. The constant state of fear and stress can lead to a shift in the brain's wiring, causing a person to be more prone to aggression, impulsivity, and lack of empathy. In Wuornos's case, these elements combined with her desperate struggle for survival may have created a perfect storm for her violent tendencies to take root. From 1989 to 1990, she killed 7 men, claiming they had all attempted to rape her while she was working as a prostitute. Of course, this doesn't excuse her actions, but it does provide a context for understanding them. It's important to remember that understanding is not the same as condoning. We can try to understand the factors that led Wuornos down her path without absolving her of the crimes she committed. And so we see how a life filled with trauma and abuse can potentially warp a person's psyche, leading them down a dark and dangerous path. The case of Aileen Wuornos is a stark reminder of how a damaged soul can turn into a dangerous predator. Wuornos's case underscores the devastating effects of trauma on an individual's psyche. Having looked at these case studies, what common factors can we identify? It's a question that's been asked by many, and the answer is as complex as the minds we're trying to understand. First, let's consider the environmental factors. In each of our case studies, we've seen serial killers who were shaped by their surroundings. Unstable homes, abusive relationships, and traumatic experiences have all played significant roles in their development. It's as if these harsh realities have etched indelible marks on their psyche, pushing them towards a path of violence and chaos. Next, we have the genetic factors. There's a growing body of research suggesting that certain genetic predispositions can make individuals more susceptible to becoming serial killers. This doesn't mean that there's a serial killer gene, but rather that some people may be genetically predisposed to traits like aggression, lack of empathy, or the inability to control impulses, which could, under the right circumstances, manifest as lethal violence. Now, let's turn to the psychological aspects. Almost universally, our case studies have shown a profound lack of empathy and remorse. These individuals often have a distorted sense of self-worth, viewing others as objects to be manipulated for their own gain. Many also exhibit traits of psychopathy or severe antisocial personality disorders, which can lead to a life of persistent criminal behavior. But the common thread that ties all these factors together is the unique cocktail of environmental, genetic, and psychological influences that shapes each serial killer. It's a complex interplay of nature and nurture that, when combined with certain personality traits and life experiences, can lead to a life of violent crime. What's also important to note, however, is that these factors alone do not make a serial killer. There are many people who have experienced similar environmental hardships, genetic predispositions, or psychological conditions, but have not turned to a life of crime. It's clear that understanding the mind of a serial killer is complex and multifaceted. There's no single answer, no easy explanation, but a myriad of influences that contribute to this chilling phenomenon. So, have we cracked the code to the mind of a serial killer? Not quite, but we have pieced together some key components. We've delved into the chilling charm of psychopaths, explored the twisted humor of killers like the notorious killer clown. We've examined the damaged souls, those who carry the weight of their past into a deadly future. And we've identified a common thread, a distinct lack of empathy, a trait shared by many serial killers. Understanding the psychological factors behind these behaviors is a formidable task, but one that holds the potential to prevent these heinous acts and intervene earlier. It's a complex puzzle, with each piece as crucial as the next, and no two pieces identical. As we continue to explore the darkest corners of the human mind, we inch closer to answering the question, what makes a serial killer? The quest for this answer continues, as we delve deeper into the psyche of these individuals.